Hello there, everybody. It's K-Bot here again with another episode of Breakdown Blitz. This time, we'll be watching Polar Knight versus Revolt. Two teams that, honestly, I wasn't quite sure existed. To be honest, to be fair, I don't follow the European scene that much. So definitely excited to see what these two teams bring to the table. Of course, a handful of familiar names. Polar Knight is a team that's been around for a while, that I haven't really heard of recently or seen enter a lot of tournaments, and I guess Revolt is probably a newer roster on their side. I'd have to do a little bit more research into that, but nonetheless, excited to see what these two teams bring to the table. Doing this as a more European focused episode to try to cover all of my bases as possible. Of course, most of the time I record these in the late evening North American time, but I figured, hey, it's the weekend, might as well give some time in the afternoon to record one of these for Europe. So excited to see what happens here. Stick around for everything. It'll be 4 quick games as per normal with me talking over them. Hope you like what you see. If you do, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe for future episodes. Be sure to look back on the previous 3 episodes that I've done. With all that out of the way, let's get right into it. Splat zones on the Reef is a map that we're rather used to seeing. We'll see what these teams kind of opt for in terms of bridge control or in terms of zone control or more ballot control here. Compositionally, starting off the bat, I already see a Tensorella, I already see a Soda Slosher, a Squiffer, all interesting picks. And then on the other side, Gluga Deco is coming out here, as well as that Carbon Roller. Carbon Roller is definitely going to be something that's a little bit more skirmish heavy, whereas I imagine the Glugas are going to be a little bit more holding on the back lines. But we'll see exactly how this plays out. Looks like a couple of trades early on in the beginning, but I think it's going to result in a 3v2 situation to allow Polar Knight to take first advantage. But I like the fact that they're not really aggressing too much right now. They don't need to push their advantage, and as a matter of fact, they'll let Revolt start coming into them, which I kind of like here. Kofer does go down when trying to take bridge control, so that will be a little bit unfortunate here, and we'll put things even further back for Revolt. Now with a 2-down situation, make it a 3-down situation, delayed here. Now we're starting to see a little bit more aggression coming out of Atomic there, especially. Moved up super far there on the Carbon Roller to try to back some of these members away for Revolt. Looks like Atomic is eventually going to get taken down here. And now Kofer's kind of all on their lonesome here with this Tensorella. Has that Ultra Stamp at the ready and is now going to be looking for this flanking opportunity here, and so a good take back on the whole here for Revolt. I think there might have been something where they might have been able to win a fight if they sent, if they split 2 and 2 instead of 3 and 1. But perhaps it's something to kind of consider for the future there. Someone that can maybe play around the Tensorella canopy just the same as well here. As a matter of fact, I think I remember something like Stendo saying that the Carbon Tent combination, or no, sorry, they're on 2 different teams. Never mind, we're not going to talk about that quite yet. So never mind there, but in any event here, you'll notice because of the squid advantage that Revolt had, or the kind of, well, the lack of squid advantage, I should say, that they had when they tried to take those zones the first time. They weren't able to hold on to zones for long enough, but now it looks like they're going to be focusing their attention back towards that. Now, if we know, though, we do see Polar Knight come out with the Ink Armor here once more to try to, continue their push. But they're actually not focusing on the zone as much, and actually Revolt was able to take their attention away from the zone and able to pick them apart there very nicely. Atomics can get one back onto Termi here, which means a 2-up situation. However, it's 2 members up that aren't really going to be able to paint the zone as well, and now Skywoo's going to come in with that Squiffer shot in order to shut that down. So, well done defense here to Revolt. Well done kind of hold. The interesting thing is they're not getting as many points on the board as perhaps they might have liked because they're kind of in this more trading position. But because of what they're doing, they're making sure that Polar Knight isn't able to get set up, isn't able to make a large push happen here. Now, though, with a 3-down situation after losing that fight, probably going to go back the other direction. Termi is going to be able to take out Slimy, though, on that Junior. So well done there. And actually, that's going to be huge in terms of stalling this out a little bit longer, because now that Ink Armor is back on another timer thanks to that respawn. Atomic's going to try to get something done, but you can't really do much with any weapon, really, in an aggro role, such as a Carbon Roller, such as a Tri-Slosher, when you're surrounded in enemy ink and by enemy players. So kind of just a little bit unfortunate there. Didn't see exactly how that one played out. But, that's one of the things where map control is vitally important here, and that's something that, in all honesty, this composition coming out of Polar Knight probably isn't going to have a lot of. They're not going to have a lot of long-range map control. They're really going to be playing for picks in order to break back into the zone. I think you saw it there as the Squiffer went down. They're able to sweep now underneath the zones, while the rest of Revolt was focused on bridge, perhaps not really focused on the zones here. Might be trying to pick off 2 here, as now Skywoo has respawned with this Squiffer. Looking to try to take care of business here, but it's not able to find something. Meanwhile, Termi is going to go down here on the bottom of the map to Atomic with that splashdown here as well. And so Polar Knight's going to be able to take back control of the zones, and now they are doing so in a very convincing fashion with the 2-down situation on the other side of the map as well. So we'll see how long this hold lasts for. I will say that there's probably a little bit more utility, a little bit more ability for Revolt to get back in here, and a lot more that has to be respected. As you see that right now, Polar Knight is backing away from zones rather quickly. But with the 2-down situation, they should be able to collapse right back around on this. Kofor's the last one alive here. That Tenebrella can only do so much, especially given just how bulky it kind of is. Was able to stall for a decent bit of time, though, so kind of surprised there. To buy some time for the rest of the teammates to go come back in and respawn. But again, we're kind of split up right now on Revolt. We're now stacking our respawns. We're not really able to make a solid push back into zone to really shove this down the throat of Polar Knight. And so now with 30 seconds left of the game, very much a Polar Knight favored position, especially if things continue to play out. What I really need to see now from Revolt is we really need to see that in-engage, which, to be fair, they don't really have a lot of in terms of their specials, especially given the fact that they don't have an ink armor. And that's one of the things here, like, why I tend to harp on the importance of ink armor. Is because right now we don't have a lot of these things that we can just pop and we can force around to try to collapse around these two members. For example, Atomic and Slimy probably would have been very easy to pick off there had Revolt kind of collapsed around that with an ink armor or something similar. So just some food for thought there on the whole. Overall, though, well done. There are a lot of good stuff coming out of these teams, especially if you're playing a more stall-heavy side for Revolt. But Polar Knight was able to just kind of make sure they were maintaining map control, maintaining zone control for a large portion of the time, and eventually nets in the victory. Atomic comes up big with the 20 splats and assists. Well done there. Tower control on Starfish Mainstage, certainly a map that we see a lot here. And it's certainly something that kind of plays around a lot of these elevation changes, which is why I like seeing the Kansas sloshing machine coming out of both of these teams. We're opting for a little bit more map control. Kofor also switching over to the Rapid Blaster. So a little bit more of that range, a little bit more of that chip damage. It's going to be beneficial here on tower control. I like the picks overall that we're seeing, given, going from zones now over to tower control. So I will admit things are a little bit tiny on my screen, but we'll work with it here. Looks like with an early 1-down situation, Polar Knight just kind of storming through a lot of this. As a matter of fact, they're really looking to take this first checkpoint very quickly here, and just has some mobility right now of Atomic and Kaldemar stepping on forward in order to find some of these picks on the front lines. And with a 3-down situation, that's just going to continue to take care of itself here. As now that first checkpoint cleared, looking towards the second checkpoint now is Polar Knight with no response coming out of Revolt. I'd like to see some specials charged up. There's the Inkjet from Kofor here, but it's not really going to be supported by much else. Really would like to see 10 missiles, and I think they were just popped here, so that'll cause a little bit more chaos. But a 2-down situation yet again for Revolt. I don't know exactly actually what took them all out. Now a 3-down situation, Sky with the last one alive here, and very quickly could be a knockout situation for Polar Knight. Looks like they are going to be stepping off the tower here with a 2-down situation. Now Atomic goes down on the front lines, trying to bully some of those members back. So that was a little bit perhaps overzealous there by Atomic, in all honesty, by taking that position. I understand what you were going for, but perhaps, when you start noticing some of your teammates are going down, you'll probably want to get back to that tower to get as many points on the board as you can. Sometimes, that tower really does come down to the last couple of meters, the last couple of centimeters even. For how this eventually plays out. But actually, Polar Knight is just kind of continuing on forward. You'll notice how much map control that they currently have. That's in large part thanks to the fact they're running Junior and Tenatech, as opposed to in the place of the Junior on the other side we see a Rapid Deco, really. And so they're not really going to have as much map control, especially given the fact that we're running Stingray right now for Revolt as opposed to the Firefin. Obviously, Stingray has its very strong benefits, but it's really not going to result in that much map control, and especially right now in a composition from Revolt where you're not going to see as much map control, it might be more beneficial to think about those sorts of things, because even right now, I mean, look at exactly what's going on here. Even with a little bit of map control right now that Polar Knight is still holding on to in mid, it's very limiting in terms of the options that Revolt is getting. Now with the 2-down situation, might be able to move on forward, and there's finally the wipe. So hopefully this will start going back into their favor. Skywoo's going to go ahead and hop on tower just to get this speeding on along here. in order to see if we can try to get to this first checkpoint. But already halfway through this game, and if the first half of the game is any indication, the second half is certainly not looking very strong. Already a 2-down situation, not able to win those fights on the front lines, and that results in Polar Knight being able to push back into the map. Now, I would probably make sure here, if we're Revolt, don't want to give up too much breathing room, because it looks like Polar Knight is currently taking a mile, perhaps a little bit of miscommunication there as Clean jumps in, as Skywoo is jumping back. So again, it's Polar Knight very much keeping up the aggression, keeping up the map control again. In an instant, look at how much of the map was switched over to the green side. Now with the 2-down situation, though, off of that tower, we do see this going back the other direction. Quick look at the special count. Notice we're not seeing that many, especially Stingrays coming out of Skywoo. I understand that obviously it's probably not your highest focus, but that could mean a lot of different things, including things like not covering the map as much, including things like going down as much. So keep an eye out for that. And as well, if you're relying on that Stingray for this charger, then it might be something to kind of consider here. Again, I haven't been watching that the entirety of this game, but that could be something to kind of go back and review. Connemar is going to get one onto, I believe that was Sleem there, on that side. And again, it's another 2-down situation. Revolt's going to have to jump back. They're going to give up so much map control. And look at the pressure that Polar Knight can just instantly apply thanks to the fact that they have so much map control. And the map control, again, really allows players like Atomic, like Calabar, to just run around the map, swim around the map, and find some of these unique angles to try to aggress from. Kofor going down here already as Revolt's trying to push on forward, but again, they're pushing right into a bunch of green, where now the mobility options here for Revolt are very limited. So, I've been harping on map control quite a bit here, but, if there's a reason why Turf War is one of the most fundamental things, and I'm not, subtweeting Revolt here specifically, but it is just to say that I think this match kind of highlights the importance of map control and of turf control in general. Again, just my thoughts on the whole. Obviously, I can go into more detail about that. Maybe I'll do that for a future video or something. But in any event here, we really have to start seeing them moving forward. But now Hillmark gets a massive pick onto Skywoo there. That means Stingray is not going to be online. That means a long-range presence isn't going to be online. And with so much map control, it's just going to be too much to overcome. And Polar Knight's going to be able to take that one. So again, large part of map control played into that. Obviously, they were able to snowball the early lead. And they were just able to take control of whatever parts of the map that they really wanted to over the course of that match. And really shut down and limit the options and abilities that Revolt had over the course of that game. Clam Blitz on Humpback Pump Track, one of those maps where it's a little bit easier to reach the basket here on clams. I realize I haven't been drawing on the screen as much as I'm normally used to doing, so I'll try to keep my hand on the mouse for this one. I was expecting Kofor there to go over to that tent umbrella, and indeed that's the case. It'll be interesting to see exactly what kinds of positions that Kofor ends up taking. Could be being a little bit more nuisance on this side, or maybe pushing directly into the basket right there for the rest of the team. But again, kind of already noticing what we were mentioning in that last game too here, where some of the weapon composition, namely the junior here, is going to be able to put out much more paint here for this team. I do notice, though, we do have an end zap right now in the hands of Termi. We'll see if that exactly comes into play or how much that comes into play. A power clam here already scored, but honestly, probably not the best play. In a lot of cases here, or actually Atomic's going to be able to follow it up there with the suction bomb. Actually, that's Vanilla Roller, I think, which is a little bit interesting. They're opting for the splashdown and that curling bomb. Maybe I was mistaken. That might have been what they decided to choose in the first game as well. But, on this note here, some early pushes sometimes don't exactly go your way. Oftentimes, it could be seen as giving a free power claim over to your opponent. So, you definitely want to make sure that you're maximizing your push potential. I would be very hesitant towards just throwing a power clam in towards the last second here. But again, you already notice here how much map control that they actually already have. It's allowing them to move forward to get this power clam in the basket, but already with 0 clams to the board and a complete wipe, it's going to be very handily taken care of by Revolt. I really liked how they collapsed around that area. They kind of had someone approaching from here, and someone approaching from here, and they had pressure applying from here. They were all collapsing around the area, and so even though that power clam went in the basket, they were able to turn it back into a push of their own. However, it's a 3-down situation there, unfortunately, which means they're only going to be able to get 1 power claim in the basket. I didn't quite catch how many clams there were overall. Olim, at this point, my friend, you probably just need to back on away here. Back up to here and then maybe jump away. I appreciate the sentiment, but I really don't think, because you're probably just going to go down. honestly, we don't need to be too overly aggressive. And a lot of times, I'd rather see us try to set up on defense a little bit more, especially for players like Atomic right now, who are just coming up huge and being a little bit more of a nuisance. Kofor here can't quite seem to do much of anything with the Tentembrella, is having a little bit of difficulty right now, especially on the defensive side, getting set up. As another power clone goes into the basket, Atomic is starting to step forward here. Bubbles are going to come on out here, and though going to get taken down again. Atomic finally goes down. With Kaldemar going down, that should be the end of the push here. So another well-done push there to Polar Knight. Perhaps a couple more claims get in the basket than we were expecting. And now 3 pushes for Polar Knight down to 1 of Revolt. We really need to see a response here. But now we actually need to back on away because it's a 2-down situation. And Polar Knight is very quickly collapsing around the rest of us. Slimy is just going to go ahead, step forward, and throw this power claim in the basket. Because at this point, there really is no need not to. And we have plenty of claims at our disposal in order to get this down. As a matter of fact, we have enough claims in order to go ahead and knock out the game here. With a jump in, Hilmar's going to go ahead, throw this one in, and that is going to be the game. Well done there to Polo Knight. Again, playing a lot through map control there, and perhaps a little bit more of miscoordinated pushes coming on from Revolt. I don't know exactly what the answer there is, but there are some times where it looked like we were scrambling around, weren't exactly all on the same page as we were trying to find those pushes on the hole. Rainmaker on Snapper Canal here, one of those very quick maps, and there was a really good game that was unfolding there earlier that would have been nice to comment on, but we did have a disconnect, so we're doing this one for the second time. Again, the weapon compositions here, expect the Tentembrella, expect a little bit more range. I like Kaldemar here on that Kensa Pro, and on the other side of the map, the Tenatech is going to be the primary output here on the other side. You'll notice, though, an early 2-down situation for Revolt, and the Incomer comes out to be even more aggressive. Skywoo goes down. Now Kaldemar and Atomic are just going to try to continue putting in work here. Very good cleanup, though, coming in from the other time. Perhaps a little bit too overzealous there. But nonetheless here, with Oleum on that slasher and the like, able to just take care of business there. And now down to 37 here, which is probably not a push that you want to be extremely comfortable with if you are. Polo Knight would like to see that go a little bit more. Of course, we'll have to see exactly how this one continues to play out. It does kind of depend on how much time is left on the clock. I don't know if that was quite the right play from Kofor. I don't know. I forgot when exactly that Rainmaker barrier burst. If that Rainmaker barrier burst in some amount of time, they shouldn't have intentionally bursted there. If they had the choice to. But if it was something that was done before, okay, now actually Slimy's just going to walk around the side, get down to 7 here. Again, very quick points just come out of this map on all fronts. And so it's something you really have to be careful of. Hilmar is on the side here, does just now got the Stingray. That was a little bit too big of a circle. Just now got the Stingray, but really shouldn't think about using it in this position, especially now with a little bit more aggression coming in from the other teammates here of Revolt. And they're able to finally take care of business. Okay, so now down to 7. This is a place where we were more or less in the first game, where there is a push down by Polar Knight down to the single digit, or last game it was the 10-point mark. This time around it is the 7-point mark. And we'll have to see what a response is coming in. It is going to be a 2-down situation, though, without an Incomer. They have to be careful of the Stingray. Stingray comes out here. Really early Stingray, to be honest. Probably wanted to save that, wait for Hilmar to pop that Stingray first, because you probably want to try to take care of that Stingray as well, because that's going to be so much more of a nuisance and so much more of a threat to your team as they try to move the Rainmaker. So I think your goal with that Stingray is probably more so to take care of the opposing Stingray, because that is just the longest range thing on the map, as opposed to trying to open up the door and get some other picks. Things to open up the door would probably be something like the Tentembrella, probably would be something like the Inkjet, in order to get in there for your team and really open up the window for that push to happen. Now, halfway through the game here, we are noticing a little bit more of a stall tactic come out from Polar Knight, and I do like this. Again, they just want to wear time off the clock when they're already down to the 7-point mark. Fantastically well played by them, and now they're actually doing a good job of even applying more pressure. Kaldemar with that Booyah Bomb is actually able to slow this popped in here for Revolt. But you'll notice here, they're also not quite focused on the pop, and I don't even know if you would be, but a nice double actually is going to come out thanks to the Stingray as well. Atomic's going to try to jump in here, but also going to get cleaned up, and now it's a 3-9 situation. Someone needs to go back, pick up this Rainmaker, and start running. Okay, I guess we can let it reset there. I don't know which one I would have preferred, honestly. You could probably take either or, to be honest there. you might be able to make the argument that if you picked up the Rainmaker, it'd be able to fire some shots against your team, or against the opponent's team, especially with that longer range of a weapon. And a 2-down situation now, though, is going to mean that Revolt doesn't have the opportunity in order to make that kind of a push. Atomic here is sharking, have to be very careful. Termi kind of suspects something, but is going to get spotted out and taken down. And you know, that's one of the things that I was thinking about last night is in Splatoon 2, we don't see as many well-executed sharks. Maybe that's another topic that I'll have to save for another day. There aren't very many sharks because sharks can be less impactful, but they can still be traumatizing all of the same. Now, though, with a 3-down situation, Revolt is eventually going to get around to picking up this Rainmaker. Perhaps could have done it a little bit more quickly. And now the Stingray, though, comes back to the direction. 2-down situation for Revolt. We've seen this time and time again. They're not really going to have a response here, and now they're just going to have to try to shut this one down. Kofor gets taken out from behind. Olim is going to try to jump into Termi here to try to find something, but can't quite seem to find anything. And now we're just going to see this Rainmaker get rushed to the side of the map, or actually might even stick back here. Okay. Either or. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. Probably here is the safer play. And another 3-down situation. So yeah, with 20 seconds left, that Rainmaker is going to go ahead and get taken care of. But again, like, very little map control here in this general vicinity for members of Revolt to really do much of anything. Rainmaker pop is going to come down once again, and now Kofor and Sky with the last two alive. Kofor absolutely has to pick up this Rainmaker, or time is going to get called. Didn't quite have enough time there in order to go for exactly what we wanted to go for, but well done there to Polar Knight. You know, again, able to play the defensive game very well. Again, I think if you're Revolt there, you want to have very specific objectives for your specials, and if you don't really have those, then you need to start thinking about kind of other ways to think about pushing back in. Okay, so thank you to both Revolt and to Polar Knight for letting me spectate that. It was certainly a fun little match, and I hope that you all find something insightful out of this, especially those of you that weren't even in the match. I hope you also find something insightful out of what I'm kind of doing here. Otherwise, again, if you liked it, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be doing more of these in the future. If you're in +2, look out for pings. I do them on occasion every couple of days or so over the course of December here, as I try to build up a little bit more of a log. And yeah, looking forward to where the rest of the series goes. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below and continue that discussion. Take care, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Breakdown Blitz. See you all next time.